All right, everybody, welcome back to the Kahana's Tall podcast. We've got a guest with us today, John JSWIM. We have a few different things to talk about today, and we want to kind of go over Destiny 1 versus Destiny 2 and some of what's been lost in Destiny. We've had a very interesting growth, and Destiny has gone through a lot of evolution, but over the past, I want to say 3 seasons, the community has been very disheartened.
Trash.
And I've actually, yeah, okay, just got straight to the point. I've heard it from a few people, actually, both casuals and some pretty hardcore players, that there's a little bit of the charm and magic of Destiny that really appealed to us when Destiny first came out has been lost. I haven't personally played Destiny from the very beginning. I followed Destiny and got in much later, but that's one of the reasons that we've got John with us here today. And John's been with Destiny since the very beginning. When you were first introduced to Destiny, what was some of the aspects that actually like really grabbed you and enticed you into Destiny?
Well, hey, thanks for having me. My first view of Destiny was Halo 3 ODST, playing through the campaign, lying around in New Mombasa in dark rooms. There was a poster that says Destiny awaits, and
Oh yes,
we had all heard the rumors that Bungie was about to tap out of Halo, which was like an unheard of situation at the time, because that was like Halo at its peak, about 2008, Halo 3, Halo ODST. And I heard the rumors, like, they're going to make a new game, they're going to go on and do their own thing, like, get ready. And I was like, all right, I'm down for, I love Bungie, whatever they do turns to gold, let's see what we get. And something about I was looking at the pre-orders, this was my senior year of high school. I saw these postcards, and it was called, like, these Golden Age postcards. I was like, I wonder what the Golden Age is. And it's this old 1950s retro art style of come visit Venus or visit Freehold City on Mars. And being a giant space nerd, I was like, hell yeah, let's see what we're doing. And I pre-ordered it in like the summer of 2014 because I wanted to play the beta. So I played the beta with my cousin, and that original grinding system. I have a Snapchat saved on my phone of my screen, level 8 Destiny 1 beta, saying I'm in love with this game. So I kind of picked up on it early, and that art style and direction that I thought I was seeing in the game was awesome, because it just made it seem like this lost world. You're going to go visit these planets that have collapsed, and like that was it. That was right up my alley.
that sounds like a fun experience. Like when you hear it from someone else, like it sounds different. It sounds like it's like something that would get you hype if you weren't there for it. Because I wasn't there for it.
Yeah,
that's why.
It does. It really does. And you're right. Destiny, a lot of the Destiny 1 worlds and such had very much this like kind of post-apocalyptic, almost like Fallout type of feel to them, where you could see that there was a whole lot of hype on this planet. There was moving, there was bustling going on, there was development, and it's gone. But it's kind of feels fresh. Whereas in Destiny 2, you go over to the EDZ, and I don't know, to a little bit of an extent, it's like seeing Fallout New Vegas versus Fallout 4, I guess. One of them feels like, yes, there was an apocalypse and things went down, and you can really feel some of that grunge. Whereas you go into Destiny 2 and like in the EDZ, it doesn't quite feel the same. You can see obviously that there's been a collapse and that this once was a great metropolitan area that held a whole lot of people. But I don't know, it just doesn't have the same feel to it. It feels kind of out of touch.
Yeah. To add to that, like even when the beta came out, he talked about old Chicago. And me being from Chicago, I was like hyped for that. Like I couldn't wait to see what it looked like in Destiny. Like when it's your city, a place you've been to, you're just like, oh snap, I can't wait to see it. So like I literally on my Xbox One, I had put like, you can find me in old Chicago Destiny when it came out, and that was on my like bio, like because that's the only spot that was gonna be like my base. Like when I was reading all the artwork and all the narrative. I was like, yeah, that's gonna be my spot. That's gonna be my home base right there. Like that's where I'm staying. Like I ain't going nowhere else. So come to find out that I still haven't seen Old Chicago yet. They haven't talked about it yet. That kind of killed it for me. Like that was one of those little upsets for me and for everyone that was like from Chicago that was playing it at the time before I joined the military. Because we were all just like, yo, yes, that's the game right there. We're going to be posted up there. No, didn't even happen. So there was like that immediate letdown right off the bat. So, I mean, like, I feel where John's coming from, but then my point from it, not being able to do the beta test and then getting a huge disappointment, like being from that city, sucked. It sucked.
So yeah, being completely honest, when it came to pre-ordering Destiny, back then you could pre-order on Amazon and you did not have to pay for the game. You could cancel your pre-order and still get beta access. And I was like, oh sweet, I'm a broke 18-year-old.
Win-win.
I was like, I'm just gonna pre-order, get this beta code. Me and my cousin we were all about it. We thought that was like the coolest thing. We were like, we are so smart. Like they're never gonna catch on to us. Yeah, that system don't exist no more. But agreeing with you of like, it doesn't have that feel anymore of just like, man, when I first logged in, you're in the Cosmodrome, you're in this rundown old massive spaceport in Russia. It's new. There never been anything really like that. Like Halo was the opposite. Halo was, here's civilization succeeding, here's us at our peak, and we're in a fight now. And now it's like, here's this broken, busted assault rifle you found in a bunker that had eons of entropy, according to our ghost, and we have nothing. I was like, that is a great feeling, because no other game really kind of gives you that, except like maybe like a Metro, but that's not futuristic. That's not, I get awesome powers from a magical ball in the sky. So starting out, like, man, I put some hours into D1. I put a lot of hours into D1, and it held me for a long time. I still play D1, the year of our Lord 2021. And, Destiny 2, I'll log in once a season to check it out. If I really hate it, that I'll at least give it that. But I don't feel the need to go exploring hidden tunnels and stuff. It's like, why? What am I going to accomplish? But
yeah, there's not a whole lot of mystery.
No. Everything's kind of spoon-fed at this point, which I think kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
But we can hit on that whenever.
It's actually a decent segue. Unless you had something else.
I'm not a big fan of the spoon feeding. I want to agree with John on that part right there. Like it's stupid. Like I get what they're trying to do, but it's just like the only time it feels impactful to me is story wise. Like I'm just like, oh, so y'all giving that? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm cool. But then this content stuff where it's like, you give it to us in small bits, but then it's not even a lot. It's like taking a Cheez-It and you break it in half and you give me half of it instead of just giving me the whole bag. But then I find out the bag is just a fun size one.
My dad used to do that to me as a kid. I hated it.
Like that's the type of like feeding they're giving us right there. It's like it's not even a full box of Cheez-Its. Yeah. It's the little fun bag. And then you break the Cheez-It and say, okay, here's Beyond Light, and then the other half is the Raid. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna give you just a little handful of, the hunt and the rest of the campaign that you gotta finish and some other stuff. And here's some penguins, and that's the end it. The Cheez-Its, the bag is empty.
Yeah, and you find out after the dawning that no, it was just like 3-5 Cheez-Its, that's it.
And then you realize that most of the Cheez-Its are actually from like 5 years ago, and they just found them and put them in the bag.
They're that soft, weird, spongy, kind of stale. I hate that shit. Touching base on what you were saying with spoon feeding, that's another thing that we didn't really have in Destiny 1. As somebody who came from Dark Souls, I really enjoyed the challenge of Dark Souls and pinning yourself up against something, and you're going to go at that thing for possibly a good 2-3 hours before you can figure out what the best strategy is. And it may not even be the most optimal strategy, but hey, it works. There's a lot of head banging into that brick wall before you can actually move on and progress. And you're going to have to sit around and figure stuff out, and you're really going to have to dive into the game before you can actually start moving past this one area. And if you can't move past that one area, well, go back, start backtracking, figure things out. That game isn't going to hold your hand, and I very much enjoyed that. In Destiny 2 versus Destiny 1, we had quests and missions, strikes, nightfalls that were a pain, And it wasn't just because stuff would one-shot you seemingly just randomly out of thin air, like in a Grandmaster. Not that I don't mind the idea of the Grandmaster, but it feels like it's artificial difficulty, like going from, and this guy, if anybody is familiar with Dark Souls 1 versus Dark Souls 2, I'm sure that's a point of contention, but it feels very artificial.
Turned it in as soon as I bought it.
It feels very artificial in the difficulty, and as you guys said, it feels kind of spoon-fed. Whereas in Destiny 1, I said, you had strikes in there that were a pain.
That's putting it lightly, I would say.
Very lightly. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, like, for Destiny as a whole game, I'm that grinding type where if I want an obtainable seal, I put in the grunt work for it, because the satisfaction of once I have it, it feels good. But that's all I have now, which is horrible, because now I feel like they're just going to give everything away. Like, I'm not going to have anything that's just me now. Like, because I feel like they're going to be like, oh, let's do an anniversary and just bring back everything no one else had for the anniversary of Destiny, and we'll call it a day. Because I feel like once the last 3 DLCs come out and that's it for Destiny, I'm going to do a little anniversary thing and just give everyone everything that they don't have.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think even to this day, let me check something, just for curiosity's sake for this argument.
Sure.
He's got to pull up the vid and everything.
No videos. Just check some numbers here. I played Destiny. The first day I played was on my Xbox 360. September 9th, 2014. I played on launch day because my Amazon package came. I got about 1,900 hours in Destiny 1 across all my platforms. About 18 to 1,900. I still haven't finished that game. There's still so much crap I got to do in that game. Like, we still go over and play, and I still have to go grind out guns and still finish quests. Because it took time to find them. Quests were randomly dropped from the world. You just literally had to get lucky and hope you got it. And that's not there anymore. The game's just like, hey, we have a quest this week. Go talk to whoever gets started. And that's pretty much every quest. Almost every quest comes from that.
Yeah, it's very
Everything in the game is... Yeah, which I think what Bungie looked at and thought was the right decision was we need to go to the lowest common denominator. When, if we're being honest, the people that play Destiny at this point are the sweatiest, try-hard, grossest, addicted players to this game. We don't want to slowly be spoon-fed stuff. We want the sleeper simulant, hope you get lucky with 4 world drops that you didn't really realize what they were to turn in to start a quest, as opposed to go talk to the Drifter and play some Gambit, and now we're going to start a quest. I just don't think they have that same attention span in the game of long-lasting quests that last for weeks or months because they don't think the casual player will be invested. Well, the only way you're going to find if that player's invested is if you do it.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is you're not with Activision. You're not provided manpower support, and they have this grand vision for this game, which they've been giving us for almost 7 years now.
Yeah,
but they don't have the resources.
Yeah,
and I think what we're left with is just this shell of the game that we still play because Destiny has this perfect mix of I want FPS gunplay, I want story that I'm invested with. I want quests that I have to work hard for. And no other game really kind of hits all those points at once.
Not really.
And so, no. Like, I've played Halo. I still play Halo all the time. But I don't have that quest aspect. I just have I love the gunplay. I like the story. But I don't have the quest. Or if I want a quest, I'm not going to get the same gunplay or anything like that. So they know what the people want. They know what they've been giving us is
not what we want.
Exactly. And I think they want to rectify that. I think they're trying to. Like, they're bringing back people that used to work on the game when we were getting good content. But I just don't know if they have the same passion. And another part of what you're talking about is they give us a lot of reused stuff. Because they were like, well, in Destiny 1, they love this. Let's bring it back, tweak it, or make it different when, we'd be happy with new stuff we have to find, we have to explore for. We got to do X, Y, and Z, and that no longer really exists in the game as we know it. And it's like, for me, the charm of logging in every day, trying to find new stuff or new places, like the Dreadnought, things like that, that's not there anymore. And so that's kind of led us to this point where nobody's happy. The developers are annoyed with us because all we do is complain, but we complain because they're not giving us what we want. So that's where I'm at as a day one player of, I want new. You know, they're like, here's a new location, but 2 of the guns you get from it are old guns.
Yeah, I really feel that.
Well,
That's stupid.
I really feel
Yeah.
that.
That's
Like,
so stupid.
like with the meaningful content right there and the meaningful quests and such like that. I have no problem, honestly, with them bringing some weapons or some things back from D1. As long
No,
as it's
not at all.
introduced in the proper manner. For instance, like with the palindrome. Oh, I'm so excited to have the palindrome back. I honestly am. But you know what? I would really much prefer that palindrome be a Crucible loot drop or something like that. And I would prefer that you actually really have to work for something like that. And I would love to see a little bit more of the heavy investment into quests.
Mm-hmm.
One of the longest quests for me, and this is when I first started Destiny 2, and I was able to first get one of the DLCs, the Shadowkeep DLC. At that time, my Crucible KD was laughably low. I want to say I was somewhere around like a .02 or something like that. I was not efficient in the slightest.
Sounds like Dead's Katie.
It was
What?
worse.
Come on, my KD's good. It's
Dude,
good.
I didn't know what a sprint button was. So the last word quest for me took ages. I want to say that it took me the better part of like 3-4 months just to be able to, and I had to have some teams that I ran with to actually be able to keep my kills above my death ratio, because that was the part that I was stuck at for the longest time. But I really, really, really wanted that gun, and so I invested as much time as I could into PvP to get better and see if I could get a little bit more percentage that day than the next day, and a little bit more and a little bit more, and I push and I push and I push and I push. Same thing with my Not Forgotten and my Luna's Howl. I enjoyed those quests because of how much work I had to put into those things, and if we had that back in, I honestly feel that you'd have a better experience for the average player coming in here. Sure, you'd have the people who go ahead and piss and moan and say, oh my god, I have to have how many grenade launcher kills? They need to nerf that stuff. Yeah, well, you know what? That gun's busted as crap, alright? When you get it, you will abuse the flying hell out of it.
Sounds like Yoden.
Don't even say that word.
Forbidden toaster.
So I abused it to no end because I was getting clapped with that thing.
That thing did take
But
a while.
Destiny 1, the longest quest was Touch of Malice.
Yeah, that's the one.
You're hunting down, from 2015. But that's the thing, I have friends I play with in D1 who still play the game, who are still like, oh yeah, calcified fragments. I still need to find those for Touch of Malice. We had no clue what we were finding those for. I mean, we got a sword out of it, cool, but new quests kept showing up every 15, and you're like, all right, that's interesting. I didn't think I still needed to find these. Yeah. And the game, it wasn't that it was difficult to get them. It's you just explore or do a raid and just look around and you find them.
Yeah, you had to invest time in it, though.
Yeah, and going off what you said of Not Forgotten and Last Word, that's where that artificial difficulty still comes in of, well, you just got to get a bunch of kills to just get good at Crucible. Well, that's not really a gameplay mechanic. That's not the game
right.
I should be focusing on. It's how can we drag this out and make you work for something? Okay, I like working for things, so I'm going to do this quest. Oh, I have to go, I got to get 5,500 glory. Okay, that's interesting. I've never won consecutive Crucible games in my life. Well, you better figure it out. Better hope you find some friends. That's where they put you out of. You better find some way to do it. Destiny 1, it's, if you want this gun, you're going to go explore for hours. You're going to go sit and explore the Cosmodrome. You're going to farm this Court of Oryx. You're just figure it out, dude. It wasn't just making things hard for the sake of making it hard. Destiny 1 made you invest into the certain area that you're working towards, and it's not just this unrewarding feeling either. Touch of Malice is the perfect gun for the raid that it was meant in, that you find stuff for it in.
Yeah.
And the game doesn't do that anymore. Okay, yeah, you have to play Crucible. Well, what do I have to do in Crucible? Just get kills? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Thanks, Bungie. Very cool. And that's just not the feeling I want from this game, because I've put over 4,000 hours into this game now across D1, D2, different platforms. But I don't feel like what I'm working towards matters in that category. Like the raid exotics, I think, are the best example of this. It's based off the raid, but does it help you in the raid? Like in Crown of Sorrow, were you going to go use Taraba?
No, I can't really think of too many places that it would even be really a viable solution.
Wait, that's an exotic?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Taraba to me feels like the raid SMG that you would get from, say, Wrath of the Machine, because it's following the theme of the raid, but it's not going to help you in the raid.
Yeah.
Touch of Malice is going to make you an absolute monster at King's Fall, which is like one of the hardest raids to get good at.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Like, I want to be able to use what I worked for and have it make me better at the game. And nothing in this game does that anymore, because they're worried about, it might be overpowered. Here's this gun that's been broken for 6 years. I guess we'll figure it out eventually. But nothing is like worth the time investment for what you're doing. Like Last Word, it was fun. It's a fun gun, but it's not going to make me better at Crucible.
No, raid
and
weapons. That's a good point. Almost like in Vault of Glass, you had weapons that allowed you to do more damage to the oracles, for instance. It's going to help you in those
Oracle
encounters.
Disruptor.
Yeah, it's not just good in the average game. It's not just good in PvP. It's specifically designed for that weapon. And with sunsetting, if you're just going to be bringing back the same crap over and over and over, what's honestly the point? Honestly, if you're going to be introducing sunsetting and every weapon has a shelf life of 1 year, go wild with the stuff. Give us like Rampage Dragonfly on stuff. Make raid weapons. This is the first raid that I've actually seen raid weapons in Destiny 2 that felt pretty darn good. Recombination and reconstruction on a slug shoddy or on a sniper rifle. That's pretty freaking cool, and it can allow you to put out some great DPS. I still don't see too much that's like in Vault of Glass, but it's better than the other raids that I've seen so far.
Yeah, they're kind of tweaking that feeling a little bit. It's better than it was, but it's still not like the Wrath of the Machine Guns. Same thing, but it has Fallen Disruptor, so you're going to do more damage to Fallen. That's super great. Like, you need that in Wrath of the Machine. But it doesn't have a lot of usage outside of the raid. Like, they're not groundbreaking guns. They're not any crazy perks. They're variations that are going to help you in the raid. And I think they're kind of getting back to that a little bit with, I can't even think of it. Yeah, Deepstone. They finally kind of caught on to what we were saying, that we want things to help us. Like, if we're going to do the raid 1,000 times to get all the gear we want just how we want it, probably should be a little bit useful in there. But like Leviathan's weapons, I used one of them on a constant basis, and that was just because it was like the best scout rifle you could get at the time. But it's not helping me in Leviathan. Leviathan guns are almost worthless in Leviathan, in my opinion.
Pretty much, yeah. Even the rocket launcher. Well, I guess in D1, like
I guess that would probably be the other one.
Yeah, I guess D1 Year 1 rocket launchers were actually a very viable option, but it's not like...
Unless you forgot to buy a Gallarhorn.
True. Oh, did I say Destiny 1 Year 1? I'm sorry, I meant Destiny 2 Year 1. Destiny 2 Year 1, I suppose rocket launchers were a decently viable option, but...
No, they actually did damage back then. Now they're just... A rocket launcher back in like Halo 3, Halo 2 was what it's supposed to do. To make a lot of damage with one rocket. You put in another rocket, you do a lot of damage. It shouldn't be a sniper rifle doing more damage than a rocket launcher. That defeats the purpose. Like, in real life, just a little bit about myself. I fired a javelin in the military. That does a lot of destruction. And then when you use a sniper rifle, it does a lot of destruction to one person. One person. But in these games, rocket launchers don't do anything because people can just eat them. They seem like a waste. Like, don't really use a rocket launcher on an enemy when you would hope to use a rocket launcher on an enemy because it would do a lot of damage. It should give out a lot of output. But that's the opposite with Bungie. When you fire a rocket launcher, they're like, no, use a sniper instead because that'll do more damage. Not the giant rocket that you're holding over your shoulder that's taking up all your bricks. That's not going to work.
The Gallarhorn meta scared them into just like a complete rocket launcher nerf from then on out.
Exactly, and it defeats the purpose of using a rocket launcher and people wanting to go for it. Like, so even if it's the one for the trials, like was it Tomorrow's Answer?
I think
People
so.
are like, I guess I'm not gonna do trials this week because I don't want that one because it doesn't do any destruction, but it's a rocket launcher. It's supposed to blow up stuff. you get my point though, right? Like it's
the only
it's
place
dumb
I
how
use
they're
rocket
dumbing it
launchers
down.
are like at clear. I'll go ahead, slap one with cluster bomb on there, and I'll just take out a mess of thrall or something like that when they spawn in. Wipe all those guys out. Cool. Now we can focus on the two large guys that we're trying to deal with.
Yeah, like it didn't come down to that at all. And I feel like with Bungie's course of action, what they're doing is they're squeezing it out of us. And another speculation I have, which I'm sorry to say this, is that once this is over, when they're like, okay, the last year out, we did the anniversary, give it a year, shut down the servers. We're gonna do another game. It's just like, since they're just complaining so much, we'll just do another game, you know. And I feel they'll shut down the servers early. I feel that they would do something like that, where we just get on one day and the servers aren't up.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think that, kind of going off of what John said a little bit ago, with Bungie kind of feeling like they don't have the same passion or the same drive, I think that there's plenty of passion there, but I feel that they've been kept in their own circle for too long, and they've kind of stagnated. I don't know if they need to be bringing some of the guys who worked on Destiny 1 and some of the better seasons of Destiny 2 back. I know that we've got Joe Blackburn back, who's working on Opulence, which that was the big season for me. I joined just before the season of Opulence, and that's when I really started playing heavy. So for me, I've been comparing everything to Season of Opulence for my personal experiences, and that was like, you want loot? We got buckets. We got buckets, and you buy it for a penny. I don't know if they need to be bringing back some of the people that they originally worked with and that they had success with, or if they need new blood in there. But it feels to me like they're just running around in circles, and I'm seeing mistakes that they made in D1 that they're repeating now in Destiny 2, or that they've made in Destiny 1 Year 1 that they're now repeating in these later seasons. And right now, for me personally, it feels very much like Destiny is being made for the people who work at Bungie and not for the people who are purchasing it. And as a business model, it doesn't work that way. Destiny works very well as a power fantasy, but there needs to be more than just a Skyrim campaign. Skyrim is a fun game, but it's very, very boring, and it needs mods. It needed the community to fix it and make it worthwhile, really, to go ahead and create some investment into it. I feel very much with Destiny right now that they're just stagnating and they're floundering. They make some really cool stuff and they make some really good content, but the way in which it's being presented back to the community, I'm not pleased with it personally.
Not alone there, my friend. You know, there was that tweet that came out this week from one of the game directors, and
yeah, that was Joe Blackburn, actually.
Yeah. You know, the last year I said Destiny's best days are ahead. Seeing what's coming, I believe this more than ever, but we have work to do to get there. 2021 is going to be a little different. Taking some time to validate our plans, but expect a state of Destiny 2021 next season. If I could tell you how many times I've heard a sentence along those lines from Bungie in my life, I would be a rich, rich, rich man.
Oh, yeah. The constant thing is we're listening.
Yeah, like, you're listening, great, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's the question that every Destiny player asks that we still haven't gotten an answer with. And, like, you know, we're hyped about Witch Queen, Savathûn. I remember reading about Savathûn in Destiny 1, Book of Sorrows, which, like, that stuff is something else that, like, we don't get from Bungie anymore. Like, outside of the game world that they got us invested in and made us, like, a part of the rest of the game. Like, I would read the lore entries every time I got a new exotic because I would go read the Grimoire card because I was like, that's cool. I want to know about this gun because I've never had this gun before. This is a cool gun. Yeah. That's not there anymore. There's not this feeling of like, I earned this. This is something new I've never seen or heard of before. I want to dig in and dive in and learn all about it. And like the creators like Bife or people like that where they fill us in on the secrets that a lot of people can't be bothered to have. That's not really there anymore. They're kind of just taking the story and adding on just a little bit of extra that the game happens to remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, I don't know how many times I've heard in the raid where it's just like people complain, like, how many times are we going to fight Tannic? But
yeah.
You know those people didn't read the lore because it tells you in the lore that each time Tannic runs away, they took his body before we could finish him off. And so if you don't read the lore, you don't know that. So it's just like, bro, why do you keep giving us the same villain? Like, why do you keep giving the same villain? And then like people, the developers, they're like, well, It's in the lore. I'm not going to read. Those people aren't going to read.
I am illiterate.
They just want to play the game. All they see is the same dude they keep fighting, which is they seem that they don't like it. It's not fun. Like, give me something else. You give me a new raid, but it's Taniks again. And then now there's like this running joke where like, oh, well, the next couple raids are all going to be Taniks, but it's just going to be his Taken version, or it's just going to be a Scorn version of Taniks. So it's like a long running joke now. It's, oh, we're going to get Taniks.
I do not want a Scorn version of Tan. I don't want a Scorn raid. I really don't.
I'm kind of over the Scorn. They were fun for 30 minutes into Forsaken, and then after that, then I was real done with old Keyhead over there.
I will say, though, with that raid, I expected a completely different boss. I was expecting, like, this fallen giant... Like, okay, so I was expecting, basically, the Clovis Spray Exo head that we meet in Creation, I think it is. And I was expecting that thing to, like, lunge out of a wall and rip itself out, and it's decaying and everything like that, and you were going to have to slowly destroy and disassemble this thing by doing DPS on certain things and doing these like 3 to 4 phases to actually beat this giant insane exo because of the Clovis Spray disease and everything like that. I was expecting something totally different on that boss fight, and not gonna lie, with the Taniks thing, I was a little upset.
Yeah, I agree. The amount of times I've had to deal with Taniks in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 now is just, he's like an annoying ex-girlfriend that won't go away. It's like, my God, I thought I was done with you this time. I really thought this time was going to do it. No, we're not done. We're still rumbling. I think, the story that they're trying to tell with that and the story that they've told since Beyond Light came out, I think the story's pretty good. But I'm not as invested as I was. Like, I don't care as much. All right, I beat the campaign. All right, here's your no time to explain just for beating the campaign.
Yeah,
awesome.
I was expecting a quest with that. I was not expecting that to be like the end reward on something like that.
And like Datto and the other top creators have hit on that they just kind of give them away at this point. The exotics are not special anymore. I just look at my loadout for what I'm doing, and I have an exotic that I've used probably for 2 years now that I think is going to be the best, and I know works, so why would I change it? And it's just, I don't like the feeling of, like, these pinnacle weapons. Zer's here, so I can maybe find the last one I don't need because the quest is gone.
Yeah.
I just don't feel rewarded for the time that I have to put into this game, which, if you want to stay anywhere up to date on this game, you're going to put a crap ton of time in.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't feel rewarded from that. The campaign, I thought that was a ton of fun. Like, you slowly earn stasis, your ghost hates you, whatever, that's cool. My ghost has given me attitude for years now, and now he's making me feel bad. And I expected some more to come from that, and the game's just like, here's your no time to explain. Good job. You worked hard. That's not what I'm going for, Bungie. Like, make me earn what I get. I don't...
Yeah.
It's like, that's the other thing. Like, Destiny 1, I remember I had one exotic until House of Wolves came out. I got one exotic, like, that I earned, that I didn't buy from Xur. I had a singular exotic, and I used it for everything, and I made it work, because that's all I had, because I couldn't find them, I couldn't get lucky. Exotics were rare, exciting. Like, I would text my friends that played the game and be like, hey, I got an exotic, and, like, we were hyped. That was so cool. Now it's just like, oh, how'd you get that? Now you beat the campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I'll get in like 2 hours? Yep. Have fun. Okay.
Yeah, it took
Thanks.
me like a year to get Twilight Garrison. It took me a freaking year to get that thing. I popped so many...
3 of coins?
3 of coins.
Cherries?
Every single time.
Cherries.
Whoa.
Dead.
I
got so many 3 of coins. Anytime I did something, I go into a raid and I get through the first encounter. All right, pop another 3 of coins. I go into Crucible, I go into Strikes, whatever it is. I'm constantly popping those 3 of coins. And I would probably get an exotic like every other week or something like that off of one of those 3 of coins. And I know when those things were introduced, that had to have been a lifesaver for a lot of people who were hunting for a certain thing, but it still took me forever to get an exotic to drop. And you're right, in Destiny 2, they just kind of hand them out, and there's nothing really special about the exotics that we have either. Even the raid exotics aren't all that great. Anarchy is fantastic, but it doesn't help specifically for the raid, as you were pointing out earlier. And the Tomorrow's Answer... no, wait, it's not Tomorrow's Answer, it's Eyes of Tomorrow. That's the one, yeah, Eyes of Tomorrow. Really won't help you out inside of the raid. Really won't help you outside of many situations aside from maybe Gambit or minor ad clear or something like that inside of a strike.
Raid exotics are good for a flex and torturing Liam, and that's about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, it's like, that's fun, but it's not significant.
Not really.
And I just miss things feeling significant. Like that, I want what I'm doing in the game, I want that to be significant. I want to feel like my investment makes sense. Because, like, I have no problem, doing the raid 100 times to get something. But if I'm doing that, man, I want to feel like the boss of the raid, that they're actually fighting me. Like, I want to be the villain because of how overpowered I am. And like you said, Destiny's a power fantasy. Lately, it feels like there's nothing that even matters. Like, okay, cool, I'm powerful, but it's going to get nerfed in a week, so I guess it's not really that important.
Something else that I would really appreciate, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this, especially or like directly towards raids, is let us wear the end raid bosses like exoskeleton again. Give us some raid armor that makes us feel like we went ahead and we conquered this guy, and now I'm gonna go walking around through the dreadnought wearing Oryx's chitin.
Yeah, or I killed his war priest. Look at my head. I wear his head on my head.
Exactly. I want to see that stuff back again. DLCs now. Shadowkeep. I suppose obviously Beyond Light, but we did just have a community event that dropped in Beyond Light with the Dawning. Destiny 1 and some of Destiny 2, especially around about... Actually, I think it was still in Red War. We had community events and we had secrets inside of Destiny that you really had to hunt for. Stuff like the Whisper mission or the Outbreak mission. Mm-hmm. We had the Forges that each one was dropped in. It's part of that drip feed content that I'm not a huge fan of, but each one was dropped and there were clues that the community had to go ahead and dig out of those things to go ahead and find the next clue inside of the next forge that was dropped, so that finally we could go ahead and unlock the last forge. And if it wasn't done in a certain time, nobody gets anything. There were consequences. Now, granted, Bungie at the last minute decided, no, we're just going to go ahead and give it to everybody, despite all the hard work that the community has put into this, because we feel that we made it too hard. I don't like that. I want that challenge, and I want that intrigue. I want those secrets. I want that mystery. I want that reason to hunt and invest time into it, because there's got to be a seventh chest inside of Vault of Glass. Yep. Where's the missing whatever?
Yeah, I mean, in Destiny 1, it's hard to even think of community events.
Well, I suppose we didn't really have too many community events, but for instance, with Wrath Machine, there was the Outbreak Perfected quest that was this huge, great big ARG.
Yep.
And I'm not entirely sure, because I watched a lot of people playing Destiny 1, and I remember seeing at one point the infected Siva thing that was happening, where people would come into contact with another player and then they're infected. Did that lead up to, was that part of the ARG, or was that like a leading up to the Taken King? Or I'm sorry, Rise of Iron.
That was leading up to Rise of Iron. I think seasons is part of the problem with that, because every season builds into the next, or at least that's what they're trying to do. So, like, Season of Arrivals, the Pyramid showed up. That was cool. Well, in Destiny 1, they probably would have snuck some stuff in. Like, coming into Taken King, if you were in the Cosmodrome, because I think that's the best area in Destiny, I still spend most of my time just wandering around the Cosmodrome in Destiny 1 and 2, because that's what I love. Taken would show up. They only would show up rarely. It was not planned. That. There was nothing that would tell you. It would just be like Taken incursion. And just some Thrall would show up, a captain, just a few waves of ads, and then you'd be like, Oryx backs off for now. Well, we had never seen a Taken before, so the first time that happened, me and my buddy Grant, who we played this game religiously back then, we were like, what was that? Like, is that what's coming? Like, is that what the Taken are? So, you kind of got a little taste of what's to come, but it didn't spoil anything. It wasn't just flat out shoving it in your face. It wasn't making it,
It wasn't super obvious.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the whole point of 9 or 10 weeks was just this. It was literally the last 2 weeks leading up to Taken King, the last 2 weeks leading up to Rise of Iron. You get infected with Siva. You had to find it, or you would never know. Like, if you just randomly logged in every day, you did your 3 strikes, you did your Crucible with your friends, you'd never know. You'd just be like, that was weird.
Yeah. But it was some really good community hype, and it got the community together, I feel, in a little bit of a better way than what we have currently.
I agree.
Yeah, what we got now is, like, basically, along the lines of what John was saying, like, what we have now, as far as the seasons are concerned, it is just stuff to do to keep you wondering if you're missing more, but you're not really missing all that much.
No,
but then they put out the TWAB like, oh, we got this coming. And then you're like, oh, when? We'll let you know. And then you get on, you log in, and there's nothing much to do. They tweaked a few things, nerfed a couple things. You go back, you repeat it the next Tuesday. And then, like, when you do take a break and you just so happen to read the TWAB, they're like, oh, we got this coming. And you're like, oh, when? Let me get on. Then you tell your friends, like, oh, what's going on? They're like, oh, nothing. That's not coming till 2 seasons from now. And then you're like, oh, so I logged in for nothing.
Yep.
Yeah,
and, like, it's that spoon feeding. Like, the roadmap, I honestly could do without. And I think a lot of the more hardcore players could do without that. That we don't need to know what's coming. Don't tell us. Don't say, go visit Drifter next week to start your quest. Or... X, Y, or Z. I want to have to suffer and figure that out on my own.
Yeah.
Because then, when I get on and something randomly happens that I wasn't prepared for, I feel like something cool's happening. I'm getting something new and exciting out of the game that I normally wouldn't. But Bungie, and in the most recent TWAB, they hit on it again of, well, we don't want players to feel like they're missing out.
Yeah.
You should miss out if...
We had an episode that we had planned yesterday that completely devolved into just FOMO.
It was retarded. I was so
It was hot.
So John, hear me out. So basically, I was just like, okay, fear of missing out. Missing out on what? I've played certain games before where if you weren't there, like I literally had Attack on Titan crossover with MapleStory. I don't know if you know what MapleStory is, but it's like a little chibi 2D side scroller. So there is an Attack on Titan version of it where you can fight the Titans. You can fight with Eren, Mikasa in like chibi form, but you can also get their gear and stuff. I found about it on the last day. So I downloaded it and it took all night. Finally got it downloaded, but it was already past, the update. And so I couldn't play with them. But I watched videos on it and seen how cool it was. And I'm like, man, I missed out on it. Now imagine if MapleStory did fear of missing out. Well, we're gonna bring it back again because you missed out. No, it's gone. Never came back ever again. I missed out. I saw it on the last day. Didn't see it. Didn't get to play it. I didn't have a good enough connection. So it's just like, okay, next time you get on MapleStory, be on your crap. You know what I'm saying? Be on it. So you don't miss out on nothing. And then I was incentivized to play a little bit more because I missed that event. And then they came out with some pretty cool events right after that I was glad that I got on. Now, Destiny's case, you're not giving us an incentive to get on if we just know you're going to give everything to everyone later on. Like, if that's the plan, what's the point of the fear of missing? If just later, you didn't get the heir apparent, we'll just give it away then.
Yep.
That's stupid. Like to me, it's just dumb.
I remember grinding my dick off for heir apparent because I was like, that thing is sweet. I don't want to play Destiny because Season of Worthy pissed me off. But man, I really want that gun. So you know what? I'm going to get on. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to invest the time and I'm going to get this gun. And I was literally, I think out of our friend group, I'm probably like one of the only ones who actually got it because everyone else was just like, can't be bothered. I really do not care enough to get it. If that's your case, I mean, it kind of bums me out that it's like, well, if I run the raid like 20 times, I can just get it myself. Well, that's not how you get that. You had to play Guardian games and suffer. You should have to suffer like I did. And I think that there's definitely exceptions to the rules. Like, if you like exotics, bring them back, bring the quest back later. But like, if it's like a secret mission, hit limited time only, you shouldn't be rewarded for just being apathetic to the game.
No, not the
Yes,
slightest.
true.
One of our
And-
points was the Whisper mission. As much as I don't like them removing the Whisper mission and removing what I had at the time considered to be one of my best weapons and one of my most prized exotic ships, the Whisper ship. As much as I don't like that they removed that and that you can't get that, you're damn straight I'm gonna flex it and say, I'm sorry, you had to be there.
You can't get it anymore. Yep.
Yeah.
There was another example of that I was thinking of. Shoot. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. But yeah, like, people are apathetic to the game, which is fine. I mean, like, I went through phases where I did not care to play Destiny. Oh, that's right. Season of Dawn. Season of Dawn, I played twice. I didn't level up all the way. I didn't finish the season pass. I really could not be bothered to play Destiny at that time. Warzone had just come out. Everybody was playing that. It's like, I don't care. I mean, it's just another season.
Yeah.
Well, now, like, I can't get the guns. I want the armor set, and the ornaments are gone, and I'm like, wow, I really should have played. But that incentivizes me in the future. Well, I'm going to make sure, no matter what, every season I'm going to get my pass done, and I'll make sure I save some stuff from it, just because I know I can't get it anymore. And, it sucks seeing Bungie say, well, we know you worked really hard for this, but, some people might have missed it because they didn't care enough. So we'll bring it back in a couple seasons, and you can either pay silver for it, or you can just get it. Like, why not? It doesn't matter. And they just de-incentivize all the work that you're going to put into this game because some people complain that they miss it. And I just think that's dumb. I think that's wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. I feel that they're also doing that to try and backpedal a little bit on the way in which they did sunsetting. I think it was Taken King that they introduced sunsetting for the first time in Destiny 1. And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine at the very least, because of the way in which DLCs were dropped with Destiny at that time, it makes sense to me that with Taken King dropping, you had a fresh batch of stuff. Number one, you had full-on vendor resets. You had dedicated vendor resets with fresh new loot on every single vendor, and we had much more valuable vendors then than we do now, in my opinion, as well as you had World of Refresh. So you have all of your old Year 1 loot that is gone. Yes, that's power capped. You can now go ahead, you can do the raids again. You're going to have to do them at a higher difficulty. We have challenges in there, and you can earn those things again at a better level. Sure, that's a little annoying, but in the rest of the world, you have fresh new loot. Destiny 2, when they did this, I don't think that they thought it all the way through, or they didn't recall what they did. And again, it's another one of those things where they're repeating the mistakes that they had in Destiny 1 and after. When Beyond Light dropped and they sunset everything, it was a stupid decision, but they went ahead, they made all of the prior DLCs completely irrelevant. Now they're having to backtrack on that, and it's really upsetting the community. It actually would not upset the community, and there would be no retaliation from the community if you had done this from the start. If you had said, don't worry, there is going to be like all of the Dreaming City weapons, those things are staying. So there's still a reason to play Forsaken, because you can still get relevant stuff, and those things will always stay at power, or something like that. The moon weapons, they'll always stay at power, and there's a reason to go ahead and grind those things out. You would still have a decent amount of loot in the game and a reason to actually go over and buy those DLCs. Right now, there's no reason to buy the DLCs aside from Beyond Light. And now they're having to reintroduce the recaster to say, prior seasons, you can go ahead and get the relevant season weapons from those things to try and offset the amount of sunsetting that they ended up creating and the lack of loot. It's a stupid idea, I think. Not a huge fan of it. Why don't you just go ahead and actually introduce weapons? Introduce weapons that will be good for an entire year. If you really want to stick weapons down to a lifespan of 1 year, then go ahead, set those weapons out to a full year, introduce them flat out with the game, and then you have seasonal weapons that will come out 3 months at a time. Those guys are going to be locked to a year from the time that they come out. There's got to be a better way for them to actually introduce sunsetting and this weird system that they're introducing. I'm not a huge fan of it, and the armor sunsetting, I hate. My Titan was screwed up, my Hunter was screwed up. I had to delete everything and regrind it, and my stats are nowhere near as good as what they once were. And I'm not somebody who's gonna invest like 16 hours a day to go ahead and grind out armor.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's beyond pointless. Destiny 2 beyond pointless.
Yeah.
Like me, I grinded out armor I wanted. Like the ones that nobody likes, the ones from Galron or whatever. The legs for that. I thought those were cool, and I was like, oh, I want
right,
that.
yeah.
Like I need that, and I felt it was dumb because like now they're gonna be. That's what I wanted my guardian. I wanted my guardian to have a certain look, and then that's just my look. It's got kind of like the animalistic look to it. And that's what I was going for. So I would have those legs, and then the year 1 Iron Banner, the Cascade or whatever, the hunter with like the tiger, like it's got the mouth, and then you can get the the Chinese
it's like
ornament
the Oni
for it.
type of face.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. I wanted those legs, that, and then I just needed some really cool gauntlets. But I was just waiting season to season for some cool gauntlets that would just go with my character, so I could say, oh, I could just always upgrade these, and my character would look like this. Now I can only save it so like maybe someone down the road can draw my character the way I want it to look, but then be like, oh yeah, all this stuff that's on my character is sunsetted because because of Bungie. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna have armor sunset, I feel that pinnacle endgame activity armor should not have a cap on it, or it should have a far longer cap, or there needs to be a better way to go ahead and grind out the freaking Ascendant shards or something.
I remember at the end of House of Wolves, I was 365. My character looked just how I wanted him to. He was sweet. Like, I was super happy with how I looked, the game was, all that. Well, Taken King comes out, and that's worthless. So, I had to figure something else out. And, on top of that, something that Bungie just has neglected, blue armor means nothing. In Destiny 1, I went into King's Fall rocking almost exclusively blue armor, because that's all I had at power. That was it. This game, I use it for 20 minutes and then that's it, because the game just feeds me new purples. I'm good. I have my legendaries. Like, what else do I need at this point? Why do I need to do anything else?
Yeah.
And I think transmog's gonna help because you get the ornaments you want, and your guns can look how your characters can look how you want, and all that. But I don't think they just kind of neglected the steps in between. It's just, well, here's what you want. Well, I want to have to grind for that stuff. I wanted to have to earn it and make it count. No, it's fine. You got it. Like, here you go. Like, your character can look exactly how you want. Well, I'm just going to have the stuff at power, so what's the point of me doing literally any new activity ever? Because, I have the armor I want. I'm good. I'm happy. Like, nothing you're going to introduce, unless you give me some really cool stuff, really means all that much to me.
Yeah,
and
I understand.
So I agree about sunsetting. I don't think it makes much sense in the scheme of a Destiny game. I think if you're worried about power creep, you're not indulging the power fantasy that you always talk about with Destiny. And it's just a very unsatisfying feeling at this point with that sort of thing.
I can understand the sunsetting for certain weapons and such like that. When you have over 50 hand cannons or 50 auto rifles with outlaw kill clip or something like that, or Zen moment multi kill clip, I can understand wanting to try and go ahead, cycle some of them out. However, at the same time, if you're going to cycle the stuff out, you need to cycle new stuff in. And if you want to put as short of a lifespan that they're putting on weapons right now, I feel that the weapons need to be worthwhile, and very much so a power fantasy. Raid weapons should be specifically designed for the raid. If they're good outside of the raid, hey, fantastic, that's a plus. But make them for the raid. Average world weapons need to feel really, really good. Give us some. Again, I really liked Rampage. I want to say it's Rampage Dragonfly. Is that the one that they have in D2? The
Which
energy
one?
variant Dragonfly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was on one of the Black Armory scout rifles. Atsacross actually did an episode a little bit ago where he was talking about the best weapons in Destiny 2 and why he thought that sunsetting would have been okay, because he was assuming, okay, so we're getting like Black Armory weapons. If we're gonna have this short lifespan, we'll get stuff with like Rampage kill clip. So, oh yeah, no problems. If you're gonna release some broken, disgusting, hard to get weapons, no problem. I'm all for that. I have no problem trying to grind for something that is absolutely busted. But if you're just going to give us the same stuff that you've been giving us, or even more lackluster, then what the hell was the point? Just leave it in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm just real tired of grinding for weapons that mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
Or it takes little effort to get them.
Like the season title, it's like, get a bunch of kills with these guns, that we kind of let you customize, but not really. Those guns, I don't care for those guns. Like, they mean nothing to me. They're just seasoned weapons. Alright, cool. Like, what am I accomplishing by getting these?
Yeah, I had
you're gonna do the seasonal activity. Alright, heard.
Yeah, I had no incentive to grind out this season's title, because it was exactly as you said. Wear the new season armor and get a mess of kills with every single weapon.
Yeah, it's like what
there's no actual challenge there.
And like, you know, the armor's nothing to write home about, and that comes back to like, I want what I want. I know what I want, Bungie. Like, and I also want, like, Armor 2.0 is great, and I kind of like that they're giving it raid-specific mods, because that was something that was missing. But like, I want my armor to matter, and it just shouldn't be, well, I can just switch things out. Like, when we were playing Destiny 1 last night, I just switched my armor like 10 different times because we did 10 different things.
Yeah.
I had to tailor everything that I was doing to that certain activity. Well, in this game, it's like, well, here's a recovery stat. I'm going to bump my mobility. I'm going to put traction on my boots, and I'm going to put powerful friends on, and that's about it. Nothing else really matters. Nothing is inherently more important than the other, and that's pointless. That ruins all the fun that I want out of this game. It's just a disappointing state, but, you know, if they ever give me back the feeling of Destiny 1, which they kind of did, bringing back the Cosmodrome, and I want Venus back. I think Venus was epitomized everything Destiny 1 was about.
Yeah,
but
Venus was,
you know,
the tits for me.
I agree. Like, I just want that feeling again of, like, a new, like, unexplored, the world ended, let's try again. Give me that feeling.
It really felt like you were fighting against something.
Yeah.
Like, you had, like, it was you up against the world, or you and your friends up against this entire world that we have set out for you guys. It's hard. You're going to have to grind out the ass to go ahead and actually succeed, prevail, and get a fighting chance. But it's going to be worth it, because you're going to have a great time, and you're going to build some great memories.
Agreed. Like, in Destiny 1, I remember specifically on the Dreadnought, they're like, the enemy moves against each other, and all of a sudden, all these hives come pouring out of the wall, the Cabal come pouring out of their ship, they fight, but the second your character steps a foot near them, they all turn and they're like, nah, that guy's done.
Yeah.
Now you can stand near ads in the game, and they can't even kill you. They just kind of look at you funny.
Yeah, how long does it take to go ahead and wipe inside Deepstone Crypt if you don't have a grenade launcher?
I don't want to talk about it. That's a bit a personal question.
It's a bit shameful, to be honest, that your AI is dwindled down to where it's just when you say just wipe in a room where you can't just jump off a cliff, you got your AIs just kind of looking at you like, you all right, buddy? You good?
Especially after a huge physics
me?
host change that they were touting up and saying, yeah, enemies going to have a whole new AI, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, and they're going to be utilizing cover and such. I was hyped for that. I was like, oh my gosh, hell yes, we're going to have some difficult Thrall to deal up against with an annoying little bastard who keeps peeking around cover and going ahead and sliding around areas. All for it. I get this Thrall who's staring at me, wandering around trying to like jiggle peek a corner, and he's afraid to come out and touch me. Dude, you have guns. Shoot me!
Yeah, like, you know, Bungie kind of harped on, like, well, we're going to change the world, we're going to make you a little less powerful and the enemy stronger. That was Shadowkeep. I remember them, like, you guys are a little broken, and we're like, well, yeah. So I was kind of, like, excited, because that sounds like a D1 thing to me, of, like, this is going to be hard, I'm going to have to work harder. Nah, the AI are still dumb. You're still a walking tank, and we're not going to challenge you anymore other than making things just, here's an insta-wipe mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't do this right, we're going to wipe you.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel...
Like,
that makes me think back at like Halo. Like when I was playing Halo 1, 2, and 3, I was just like, oh man, this is so cool, this is so great. But then when I realized it took us 4 games before we can even get a sprint, and not only did when we did get that sprint, it was a mod you had to use. So you either had the overshield and reach, or you could use the sprint mod so you could sprint, and it had a certain time on it. So I go and pick up the books. I'm watching, you know, them take out security cams, do backflips, do crazy things. And I'm reading the books like, why can't my Spartan do that? And it's the exact same with Destiny. Story-wise, we're powerful. We're a legend. We took out Gaul. We did this. We did that. We took out the Taken King. But we're like not even close to a demigod, because it's just like we get nerfed, like John said. Mantle. Yeah, or because the weapon that was my like character's main weapon is now nerfed because don't nobody like the recluse. or because I chose not to play PvP, I'm tired of getting shot with broadsword. How is that my problem for the character of my game?
Get good.
Yeah, we play with other Guardians, but the story is literally about your own individual, Destiny Guardian. Is it not, or am I wrong? But it's just like, we're gonna nerf and, make you less powerful. So it's just, guys, we sound easy, we sound great, we sound powerful. Then when you play your version of it, you're just like, what do you mean I can't use this weapon? What do you mean my Shatter Dive just got nerfed again? What do you mean? Like, it's just like, you can't really be a legend in PvP, and you can't really be a legend story-wise, because if they come out with something and it's too strong, it gets nerfed. That's all I wanted to say about it. Was just, it's stupid to me. It feels like a waste of time. Like, I'm investing in something that I get tons of people to play. Like, I've run into so many people, like, in GameStop. I'm like, you play D2? They're like, oh, I'm like, dude, it's a good game. And then when I hype it up and they get to, like, late game, they're like, well, I finished the campaign, like, 2 hours ago. So now what? I'm like, you can do PvP? And they're like, all right, cool, let's do that. All right, we had a stat team of 6. This is not fun anymore. What else is there to do? Oh, there's raids? Okay, I don't understand what's going on. This is too complicated. What else is there to do? There's Rumble, but you can only play that by yourself. And there's Gambit. Oh, so you already tried Gambit. Yeah, I don't like it. Okay.
Yeah, I hated my life.
So now you're at a loss for words, because that Guardian I just talked to getting the game is just like, well, I can't do this because I don't have the DLC. And I don't have this weapon because I don't have the DLC. I'm like, oh, you have Ace of Spades? No. Oh, well, do you have Anarchy? No. I don't have any of the DLC. Oh, well, you got to buy the DLC. I got bills, or I got a kid.
Not anymore, you don't.
Right.
Destiny's your child.
Yeah.
And then it's like they're at a standstill. They're like, all right, man, this game was cool, it was fun, but I want to go back to my game. Now, like, that person I just talked to into playing and getting the game, that had fun for maybe a week and a half after they tried everything, and then it's just like, so I really can't do anything unless I have the DLC. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my game. And then you see them playing Skyrim and they've, deleted it.
I feel that Destiny going free to play, as much as I liked that, being able to get some of my friends in without them having to spend $60 on a base game to spend another $60 on a DLC. As much as I liked that, I feel that it should have just been, you buy the DLC, you have the game. Let's go ahead, let's make the DLC the game. Instead of going ahead and making it free to play. Because where we have it right now, all the free to play stuff, if you're going to have it free to play, I don't mind that. I do mind with the cheaters and such like that, but let's disregard PvP. When Destiny first came out free to play, I went ahead and I took both of my brothers and I took a friend into Destiny, and I went ahead and helped them power level as far as I could get them, and then I started introducing them to the raids, and it was a painful process going ahead and teaching these guys, because they had played stuff like Jak and Daxter before, or Skyrim, Fallout. They were used to very much single player games, and they weren't really used to these huge co-op things that, okay, you're going to have to do this. I'm going to give you one job. You're going to do this, and when this happens, you're then going to do this. And I'm going to start you off easy. We're going to do, I want to say it was the Eater of Worlds raid, and then we're going to bump it up a little bit harder, and we're going to do Leviathan, and then we're going to do Spire of Stars. And by Spire of Stars, you're going to want to kill me, but it's okay, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to inundate, and we're going to do this over the entire weekend. We're going to have a 3-day raid race, okay? And every single raid, I know, for your first time, this many new people, it's going to take a while, but trust me, by the end of this, you're going to look back at this and say, you know what, that was really, really fun. And I'm going to give you as much experience to then allow you the decision to say, do I actually want to invest more into this game? Because at the time, we didn't have the word that Scourge of the Past was going. We didn't have word that, what was the other one? The really bad one.
Crown of Sorrows.
Crown of Sorrows. Good raid. It was a pain, though.
Terrible execution.
Same thing with Garden, in my opinion. Really hate that one.
Oh,
anyway,
don't talk to me about Garden of Salvation.
There was no word that those things were...
Ever.
Shut up, Dad. You're on Divinity, bitch, again.
Give bitch.
There's no word that those things were going, and so they still had the option of saying, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to buy a DLC to figure out, do I want to do this? And they had so much fun. Yeah, it was like a 3-day experience of just raid, and Sure, the grind up to that was boring. I let them figure the entire game out on their own. Say, if you can level up inside of PvP, strikes, whatever, you have about a month to grind the game out. And then we start doing these 3 raids. By that end of the month, you'll go ahead and you'll figure everything out, and you'll start figuring out what weapons do damage, what weapons don't do damage. And yeah, by the end, they had a pretty decent idea. It didn't have any meta weapons. So there were only like 2 guys that were doing any real damage and carrying this team. But they had so much fun in this stuff. Around about like a month later, they end up asking me, okay, so which DLC do I end up buying? I want to know what raids you think are good and what raids you think are bad. And they come over to me and they find out, oh, so all of the new raids that I was about to go ahead and experience are about to be sunset, except for like 2 of them, and everything else inside of the game is about to be sunset. What's the point of going ahead and buying all this stuff then? Can we still do the raids that we have right now? Could we do that again? So yeah, we can do it again right now, but come 2020, you're not going to be able to play any of those things because they're all going away. So what else am I going to be able to do inside of the game? You're going to be able to do Gambit and PvP and maybe some strikes that are not sunset, which is like, I don't know, a handful if not less. Yep. So yeah, I feel like if they're going to go ahead, they're going to make it free to play. They need to have something worthwhile for the free to play players, and again, they need to have that experience in there for them. Otherwise, I think just bring it back to pay for the DLC and you've got the game.
Yeah, that would make things a whole lot easier.
Makes sense in my mind.
Yeah.
And make it $30, not $40.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make it $30, then give us $30 worth of content. Don't make me pay $40 for $30 worth of content, or $60 for $40 worth of content. I actually want content. Damn it! I want meaningful content.
I feel like it would incentivize more people to buy the content if it was, okay, you can spend, $10. You get the DLC, you get Beyond Light, and you get 1 season pass. You spend $20, you get, 3. And then if you spend $40, you get all of it. I paid $70 because I don't like waiting. And I got all the content for the season, meaning I got Beyond Light and then up to the next 4 seasons. And that's how I've always done it. But for the next, the next guy, that may not come as easy to them. They might not be able to do that. So make the cap 40, where it's just like, so I can get all the DLC for the rest of the year. So if I don't play for that whole year, I can just pay the $40 and I get the whole game I need. I'm up to date. I get to level up fairly quickly with everyone else. Plus, I don't have to wait for the next DLC if I do take a break for 3 months and come back. Get right up, and I don't have to download anything. I don't have to go and buy it, because nobody likes a paywall. And the one thing that Bungie's doing is, for the free players, is throwing that paywall into their face. Because I had one of my friends finally downloaded, and we did the first part of Beyond Light DLC. So we took her through it. We had fun. She's like, "Oh, this is cool. The guys are cool." She's like, "I have no idea what's going on, but this is cool." And then she hit me up on Discord. She's like, "Yo, something's wrong with the game." I was like, "What's wrong with the game?" She's just like, "Well, that mission we did." She's like, "I went to go back and finish it, and I can't. It won't let me." And I was just like, "Oh, that was just to entice you to play it. They want you to buy the DLC." And she's just like, "Well," she's like, "I don't have money for the DLC," but she's like, "I do like this game, but that's stupid." Literally what she said. She's like, "That's stupid. Why would don't let me play it at all? Don't let me play it unless I buy it. Why give me a piece of the candy and then not give me the rest of the bag?" She's like, that's not cool. She's like, that's janky, which I don't know. That's how she talks. She's like, "That's janky." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "When I have time, I'll get you the DLC." She's like, "Yeah, I like this game, but gee, just like, what are they doing here?" And she was just like, "Okay, cool." And like, she was cool with it, but she like enjoyed the rest of the game. But you can see that slight disappointment, because she could have just dropped it right then and there, just like, "Nah, this ain't the game for me," But she was just like, "I'm gonna give it a chance because what I did was cool." She was enticed by what she was doing, the stasis, all that. So you did good marketing.
Yeah.
But now you kind of like walking a thin line with your players when you do that. You entice them. Now, what's funny is Black Desert does this thing, and I'm sure other MMOs do it too, where you can do the trial and you start off at level 60 and you have the whole game unlocked. So you can be at the peak of your powers, try it out, and be like, "Oh, this is the one I want to play with. Like, this is the character I want to play." Now, if they went that route where they could do a trial, they start off at like, at power cap, just for that trial. And then they have all the content. They have Forsaken, they have Shadowkeep, they have Beyond Light, and then just throw them into like a strike. And then they get to use all the powers, all the stasis, then change it. They have a list of some of the best weapons, Ace of Spades, Recluse, something like that, where they can just free roam in that, and they have all these weapons preset for them. And then like they're having fun. They're like, oh snap, yeah, I might play this game. And then you go back, start from the beginning, and grind, because what you trialed was cool. You like, I want to get to that point. But then you go to the tower and you see these people with things under their names, like, yo, how did they get that? Oh, I want to get that too. And so it entices them more, instead of like this paywall thing where now, again, it's a thin line and something they don't want to do, or something they don't like. Because most people who have kids work a lot and don't have time to do that, they're going to be like, it was cool, but this ain't for me. I'm not trying to pay. Appreciate you, but no thank you. And they're done with the game. They're not going to play it anymore. You just lost a potential person. Yes, you got the numbers of how many when you went free to play. That's great, but how many of those consistent numbers stayed after 2 weeks? Bungie's not going to tell you that. They're not going to say that. They're going to be like, oh, over 8.5 million people downloaded Destiny across the globe. Okay, what's our population now?
How many are on now? Yeah, I mean, the numbers on paper should look good. On paper.
Yeah, on paper it looks good, but I mean, shoot, last weekend on Trials, I want to say at around about 9, 10 p.m. or something like that, there was supposed to only be like 500 people on Steam on Trials. That's supposed to be one of your like biggest events for the weekend, and you're listening, but you're not actually executing anything. And that's what the player base wants right now, is we want you to actually take what you've listened to and execute on it. Or at the very least, be more transparent with us and tell us what's going on, because we keep getting information. We keep getting you saying, no problem, we hear you, we're going to be releasing some info for you guys that you've been specifically asking about, and we'll be addressing these things. Cool. And we go a year without any information. There was Shadowkeep. The beginning of Shadowkeep, we got them saying, yeah, we've got a renewed focus on PvP. We're going to be reworking everything and making it. This is going to be like the year for PvP. And there was like no word up until Arrivals, where they said, okay, so we understand we've been very silent on the PvP matter. Do you guys want us to just drop info on you, or do you want us to keep you in the loop and say, hey, we're planning on this change, we don't have a solid date yet? And the community resoundingly said, yes, just let us know that you are working on something, that you have an idea about something, that you are listening to what we're talking about and saying, we want this in the game, we don't like what you're doing with this. And
yeah. I mean,
there's nothing, we're not getting that.
No. It's sad, but also this year I'm cutting them some slack, because 2020 was an absolute shit show start to finish.
Yeah, I will give that.
And another thing with this year, they had to dedicate players to updating the entire game for a new console system that's coming out. That's not an easy task in a normal year, let alone 2020.
Yeah.
And they still gave us a new planet. New content is here. They brought some new enemies to us, which I've always kind of been itching for. And, I wouldn't give them a pass in 2019, but I think they did some good stuff in 2019.
Yeah. They had some good elements. I think they had two good seasons. 2 really good seasons, maybe even 3.
Yeah, and I am willing to admit, sometimes we as a community are very unrealistic in what we're asking.
Yeah.
We're saying it's a pandemic, but you promised us this, so, I'm willing to bend a little bit on that. I think, when we see the state of 2021 that they're talking about next season, and, we're getting Vaults of Glass back, we're getting content that we've been begging for to kind of peek its head out and make its way to us, I'm willing to, wait and hold off on any long-term judgments, because, like I said, we are a very unreasonable community to begin with. Like, there's literally a subreddit called Low Sodium Destiny, because we are so salty all the time about everything.
We are high strung.
Yes, and so Bungie really, in the grand scheme of things, and all the games of theirs I've played, they really haven't left me so upset that I'm done. That's never at all been the case, and I don't think that is the case. I think they're trying to figure out, how to make things work with everything else in the world right now, and I'm willing to wait and see. And I think the Cosmodrome was well done. The rest of it's coming, so I'm happy with that. That's a great part of Destiny's story. And, I think they'll get it sorted out. I think there's some problems, Luke Smith, but nothing that can't be resolved. Nothing in Destiny is at the point where it can't be fixed.
I think you're right there.
Even if they have to say, we're going to hard reset the game, we're going to just take the game down for a month. We're going to do some balancing. We're going to figure out what's wrong with weapons and bugs, like where that's coming from. Give us a month to at least balance it. Or even if they took a season and said, this is the quality of life season. We're just going to watch what you're doing. We're going to watch the game. We're going to watch everything. And we're just going to fix throughout the season. That's it. We're not going to put a ton of new content. We'll maybe give you some new weapons or whatever. But we're just going to figure some stuff out. I would be A-okay with that. That would be the smartest thing they would ever do to me.
It would drive me nuts, but yeah, I would absolutely be willing to go through that.
Yeah, even if it just meant fixes. Yeah. If they took a season and called it the season of the patches, cool. I'm in. 100%. Yeah. Count me in.
By all means, do what you need to go ahead and make sure that you're not just taking care of your community, but you're also making sure that your own job is a lot easier. I understand the game development is a pain and a half, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I hadn't really thought about the whole PS5 and Xbox, whatever the hell it is.
Series X.
That's the one.
I got you.
I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, you're right. That's essentially 2 full-on ports, and I've heard a lot of companies that have done a console-exclusive game, it's very, very difficult for them to go ahead and do a PC port. There's a lot of work that goes into something like that. And taking care of 2 ports along with the DLC all at the same time in the pandemic, you're right. You know what? I hadn't actually thought about the whole porting thing. But yeah, you're right. I absolutely would be fine with like a season of the patch or a month down from the game to go ahead and make your job a little bit easier. There's a lot of issues. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the recent like bug pages or like the bugs that we're aware of, but we don't have a current fix for them yet. It's pretty hefty.
Oh yeah,
I don't
doubt that at all.
I'm sure that a month off for them to just go ahead and address the state of the game behind closed doors, rework a mess of things. Because I'm sure that if we had Destiny 3 and it started as a completely new game, these issues with stasis right now that a lot of people are complaining about wouldn't be present in the game. We wouldn't be having some of these great game-breaking bugs where the minute somebody loads in on like the first day of Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Witherhoard is bugged and shooting like an arrow, and it's instant killing everything in sight.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
You guys would probably know more than me because this is your neck of the woods, but there was a Final Fantasy remake a couple years ago, and it was so bad, and they said, you know what, we're going to take the game down for 2 months. Sorry, we're going to take it down, and we're going to try to give you exactly what we promised we were going to deliver. And they did, and what they came out with is like a great version of the game that literally I've never heard a complaint about what they've done at this point. Like, it can be done. Yeah. It's not a fun or easy thing for a company to admit, you know what, like, this isn't what we wanted. Yeah. But we'll fix it. We'll get it. And I think they can, and I think Bungie knows what's needed at this point. I think it's just I think that things got rushed this year working from home. I hate working from home, and I have a much easier job in game development. So, I think 2020, it's an off year. I'm going to cut them some slack, and, I think, one, telling the community that you have a plan for the next 3 years and you know what you want to do and the story you want to tell, that's more than Bungie's done in a long time in this game. That's a big old step for Bungo. And I'm excited for that. Some stories from Destiny 1 are finally getting resolved, and I don't want to, one, sell myself short on this game that I've invested thousands of hours of my life into.
Yeah.
But, like, I know Bungie always figures it out. They always did in Halo. And Halo, I think the community is just as toxic as this one, at least in my experience in the day. And I think good things are ahead, and I'm gonna cautiously hold out on that for the time being. But every year, I always know, like, I'm gonna probably right before the next DLC, I'm gonna drop off a lot, but I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna have a good time. And like, I always meet. I think the thing that people discount the most about this game is the amount of friends that you make and how you make them. Like you guys, I mean, like, I wouldn't have met you if we never played Destiny together. Like, no way.
Same with Dead, Liam. I've met all of you guys in Destiny, and it's one of the things that I love the most about this game that I never got in Dark Souls. I got into this game because I wanted PvP. I got a taste of it in Dark Souls, and I see why this is addictive. Let me go a little outside my comfort zone with this third-person dark fantasy hack and slash, and let me go into something like Call of Duty. And I went into GameStop and picked up a copy of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 for, I think, like a total of $5 or $7, and I just went at it.
And I mean, sometimes that's what it comes down to, like who you meet, and it makes you kind of stay on the game. Like, you would quit, but it's just like, nah, if the homeboys are on, I'm
gonna get on. Yep,
but
I'll
if
get
they're
on.
not, I'm gonna call it quits for the night. That's enough for me. I'm gonna go play Zelda Breath of the Wild, because that doesn't disappoint me. Because it sometimes comes down to that. But I feel like, I mean, we could talk about this all night, and John, we love having you on here, man. But I think we'll cut it here. But is there any is there anything like you wanna say to the
closing
to the
statements or anything like that? Your demands?
My list of demands. Free the hostages in Tehran. I don't know. No, thanks for having me, boys. It's always a pleasure just chatting, and I'm currently playing Destiny, and Dead was playing with me, and I'll probably be doing that the rest of the night. But if you're looking for some friends, feel free to add me. I'm on literally every platform and play the game. I'm here to make friends. That's really why I play Destiny at this point. And remember the year we had, and get ready for the next stuff, because I think there's going to be big stuff coming. And I mean, even next season with some old content coming back, and we got good stuff ahead. And Bungie hasn't let us down too bad yet, so
not too bad.
Thanks, boys, for having me, and let's have some fun.
Right on. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Everybody, you have a good night. Stay safe.